We just wrapped up a 12-team Roto mock draft. Let's recap our teams on Fantasy Baseball today in 5. Welcome into FBT in 5. Today is Thursday, March 2nd. I am Frank Stanfield, joined by Scott White. And Scott was drafting 12th overall in this draft. I was the second pick. And let's start off with Scott's team. And we'll focus on the offense first. He's got JT Realmuto and Joey Bart at catcher. Then Freddie Freeman, Max Muncy, Rafael Devers, Jeremy Pena, Ezekiel Tovar, and Brandon Drury in the infield. In the outfield, he's got Teoscar Hernandez, Luis Robert, Anthony Santander, Jake Fraley, Oscar Colas, and Ketel Marte. This is a bit of a different start for you, Scott, because you did not take an outfielder in the first round. You took Freddie Freeman and Rafael Devers. How do you think the offense turned out despite not taking an outfielder at the 1-2 turn?
So, this offense is pretty unfamiliar to me. It's not the sort of team I normally draft. I set up the draft so that I would pick 12th, thinking, okay, the 7 first-round outfielders are going to be gone at that point. And you're going to have to do something different. And, I may have some drafts like that, so I wanted to prepare myself for it. Still got an elite third baseman like I wanted in Devers, but I went with Freddie Freeman as the pairing there. Felt I could have taken Mike Trout, who's more of a second-round outfielder, but I feel like that would have been a reach with Freddie Freeman still there. So, despite the unfamiliarity, I feel pretty good about the offense. I think it's balanced enough. I don't think it's has a clear weakness in any category. There's batting average, there's power, there's speed. I think mainly what I'm missing is that really high-end outfielder, because while I did get 3 of my top 30 outfielders, which is a very high priority for me, Luis Robert, Teoscar Hernandez, Anthony Santander, they're all kind of fragile. You could see it imploding. So I would definitely feel better if I had that stalwart at the top that was really going to anchor my outfield. But if you don't take one in round 1, you're just not going to have that in all likelihood. So it wasn't by choice, it was by necessity, but that is what I wish my offense had.
Let's slide over to your pitching staff, Scott, where you wound up with Alek Manoah as your SP1. Then you've got Tristan McKenzie, Charlie Morton, Miles Michaelis, Merrill Kelly, Tony Gonsolin, and Jose Barrios. Your 2 closers were Kenley Jansen and Ryan Presley. So you likely have a combined 60 saves, 2 guys that you can trust at the closer position. And
at least, yeah.
For waiting until round 5, pitching staff looks pretty good.
Yeah, that's what I keep noticing. It certainly in these 12-team leagues, certainly in a 12-team Roto league where everybody's just filling 9 pitcher spots, starters and relievers combined. The mid-tier, the middle class at starting pitcher has become so deep with the end of the juice ball era that the draft ends before I've drafted all the pitchers I like, So I keep trying to push the envelope at starting pitcher, waiting longer and longer to take it while filling in the scarcities in the hitter ranks. And I come out of every draft basically liking my starting pitchers. My last 2 taken in this one, Merrill Kelly and Miles Michaelis, were must start last year. People are skeptical. That's why they last that long. But the point is, that never would have happened during the juice ball era, that you could find pitchers like that late. And so even this was kind of a weird draft in that it seemed like everybody was passing up early round pitchers. So there was a point in round 3-4 where like my top 10 players available were all starting pitchers. But I said, screw it, I'm still taking hitters. And despite looking that gift horse in the mouth, I still came out with a pitching staff I like. So maybe everybody was smart to do what they did, passing up pitchers.
Yeah, and maybe that's something I should have done, Scott, because I was drafting 2nd overall, and I took Ronald Acuna in the 1st round. But when it came back to me, I mentioned on the live mock draft, on the live podcast, that it feels like there's a drop-off in terms of the hitter value there. And as a result, I took Garrett Cole in round 2, and then I took Jose Altuve in round 3. But when it came back to me, names like Brandon Woodruff, Zach Wheeler, all these guys were still available in round 4 and 5 that in hindsight, I wish I took a hitter at the 2-3 turn instead of Garrett Cole, and then I could have still wound up with a really great starting pitcher that I trust. someone like Brandon Woodruff or even Zach Wheeler. So in hindsight, that's something that I would have done differently. I like the team, Scott. We went over it. I feel like it's a balanced offense, but it just feels like something is missing, and that was my main takeaway.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that hole at third base with Josh Young. I've said before that late second round, if I didn't have a third baseman already, and I would have had to draft Jose Ramirez in round 1 for me to have a third baseman late in round 2. I just take Nolan Arenado, even if it feels like it's half a round too early. I don't want to be in a position where I'm having to reach for Alex Bregman or Gunnar Henderson. And if that doesn't work out, like you, I'm having to settle for Josh Young and praying to God he has this breakthrough season. Because if he doesn't, there's probably not a third baseman emerging on the waiver wire. I'm just screwed at that position all year, and it's hard to compete when you have just a black hole like that. That's one of the positions where that's possible. So I would have passed up Garrett Cole there and taken Nolan Arenado instead.
All right. If you want to hear more about my entire team, then you can do so on the full-length Fantasy Baseball Today podcast. Listen on Spotify, Apple Podcast, the Audacy app, or anywhere else podcasts are found. Thanks for listening to Fantasy Baseball Today in 5, and we'll be back again tomorrow. Bye-bye.